G'day golfers. Ever found yourself redirecting blame and making excuses after having an absolute shocker on a golf course? I know that I have. Range was closed, I was a little cold, didn't warm up, I hit it in those 3 old divots. Then we have the podcast for you. We focus on how to fundamentally own your swing. Strike it pure and consistently shoot in the 70s. Be it if you're a weekend hack, retired and playing daily, a school phenom or a tour professional. We present and discuss facts and physics pertaining to golf, trying to keep our ego and opinion at bay. We dispel myths such as keep your head down, bend your knees, or my all-time favourite, game improvement irons. So stop drinking that mythical Kool-Aid and have a sip of ours. I think you'll find it both inspiring and refreshing. I'm Scott Young, founder of Swing, PGA professional and ex-tour player. Welcome to Pivot the Path. G'day golfers and welcome to Pivot the Path. What a week in sport just passed, and sport this morning, US Open week, massive. I am not playing. I've got a lot of work to do on my game till next year, and I just cannot wait for the US Open. It's going to be absolutely superb. So buckle in, buckle up, buttercup. We're going to have a great week of golf. For me, it's been a wonderful week because my brother has been in town, as we talked about last week, and my mum flew in. So we have a bit of young family love going on at home, which is great. And to my wonderful bride, Rosemary, she is the glue that puts us all together. Thank you very much, Shug. Anyway, news from the fairways. We didn't have our F1. They're off for a week. So Oscar Piastri, I reckon he's going to win next week too. He's just on fire. French Open, as a tennis absolute lover, and I am committed to go to the US Open tennis this year. I've been here 19 years, never gone, and I'm a tennis nut, so I'm going this year. Rosemary and I are going to go and walk around. So French Open, what happened? Well, bugger me. Sabalenka and Coco Gauff final. Sabalenka was up 4-1 and she's just a beast of a tennis player. There was one point where it was like 30-40 against serve down. Coco Gauff hit a second serve. Sabalenka walked in and just pounded this thing to oblivion. And I thought, oh, this is all over. Well, no, it wasn't all over. Coco Gauff came back and won in 3 sets. And although Sabalenka didn't seem to be emotionally on, and my hat is off to any ATP Tour pro. As a golf pro and tournament player, I used to turn up and we had a week on, week off, or just on for 4 days. These guys go for 2.5 weeks in unbelievable climate. So Coco Gauff is the inspiration for never give up. She's just finding her feet in the whole world of tennis. She was very nervous, I thought, in the speech, which is funny because she just obliterated her tennis partner. And yet she seemed more nervous talking to the crowd. She just is a remarkable young lady. So power to her, winning in 3 against a formidable opponent, Sabalenka, who obviously will come back. And then the men's Alcaraz also was 2 sets down, thinking, oh, Sinner's going to win this. And young Alcaraz came back to win in 5 sets. So whether you love your tennis like myself or you're just a kind of an avid fan, I hope you got the French Open. If you don't, just back on a replay because it was terrific. So why I love Grand Slam tennis, and really it has wonderful parallels to our game of golf. As a scratch player, I'm going to hit 5 or 6 shots around where I, prepare, picture, practice, play. I'm going to hit 5 shots around where I actually pull the trigger as perfectly as I presented it and pictured it and wanted to feel it. And that's kind of where these Grand Slams, especially this past week, Coco Gauff and young Alcaraz, or they're both young, it's where they exemplify our embodiment of what swing is, which is you never fucking give up, right? You never give up. And you're not going to play. Golf is about handling defeat. So if you want to get to know someone in business, go play around a golf with them or 9 holes with them because it's about owning your swing. And so when Alcaraz and Coco Gauff were down 1 set, 2 sets in their Grand Slam, they didn't give up. They were like, okay, reset. You've got to own your swing. You've got to own the process to what you're trying to do to improve and to actually take ownership of one's life and one's golf game. And that's where I think golf resembles life, and that's why it's such an amazing game, because it illustrates who we are. You will fail on a golf course, but you can own your swing and own your journey, and you can pivot the path, and then you can go on your merry way. And actually, just a little side note, when Justine Henin-Ardenne came in to present the women's trophy, it reminded me how small tennis players were 15 years ago compared to now. I mean, Sabalenka looked like she could put her in a back pocket, and then even Goff was, a good 5-6 inches taller than her. So tennis has changed, as I believe, and I've been saying this for a while now, as golf will start to change. Guys on the PGA Tour will be 6'5" at the minimum, in my opinion, in the next 5 to 10 years, because we can fit clubs for them. I just built a set of clubs that were 5 inches over standard length. That's insane. Anyway, we digress. So moving into golf news from the fairways, Korn Ferry, unbelievable. This was so cool. Austin Smotherman, first time winner, just a brilliant. He's got this kind of side hanging 40-foot putt that he had to drain to win, and just go ahead and drains it. So that was just, I always try, and because we're now, after having James on the podcast, and he reminded me how passionate these young players are. This kid holed a 40-footer to win, which is what we all practice. I'm going to hold this for the Masters. And he actually did it. So, mate, power to you. Just superb. Scotsman Connor Syme won his first DP Tour event, 29 years of age. Obviously tough conditions, 11 under. Love when a Scotsman wins. That's pretty cool. Joaquín Niemann continues his merry way. Good lead up to the US Open, wins the Live event, 15 under. He's just going from strength to strength. So on the LPGA Tour, Jennifer Kupcho had a bit of a 3-4 year drought on the LPGA Tour. She wins the ShopRite. Is a shortened event. Don't know why it's a shortened event. Anyway, it's only 54 holes, and she gets on and has it done for the first time, I think, in 3.5 years. So that was pretty cool. Which leads us to PGA Tour. Ryan Fox, the Kiwi, ripe old age of 38. Now, this is kind of where it's a bit weird. He won the PGA Tour event that wasn't a PGA sanctioned event, or whatever it is, the smaller PGA Tour event, a couple of weeks ago after chipping in, which was insane. But then kind of wins his first real PGA Tour event, winning the Canadian Open. And we're going to parlay that as to our improvement pivot point, where one is perfectly imperfect, and how his golf swing emulates potentially not what we strive to do in here, but he just won a PGA Tour event and won one 4 or 5 weeks ago. But we thought we'd talk about it. But shout out to Ryan. He holds a 16, the 16-footer he holed. It was like a side little burning left to righter, and it just snuck in the left edge to get in a playoff, and then he wins. He wins after the 4th, 5th playoff hole, birding the 18th there to win his first full-sanctioned PGA Tour event. So Ryan Fox, just awesome. And he's a journeyman. He's 38 years old, but his technique is very interesting. And so what we wanted to do was talk about it, which we'll get into a little bit. Before we do, on the greens for us, I had the pleasure of playing 9 holes with my brother at our local golf course, which is Longshore, which is about 10 minutes from home. And it's on the water at Westport, and it's absolutely exquisite. And it's very similar to Long Reef, which is on the water back home in Collaroy there. And I shot 1 under, played pretty well, chipped and putted really well. So the work I've been doing on starting the ball online has made a huge difference. And again, if I'd be brutally honest, which is what this podcast is about, how I feel standing over the golf ball, to me, it looks like the ball's going to go about 1.5 feet left on about a 6 to 10 footer. So I know that that's very different to how I played in the last 15, 20 years. And this is not bullshit. I've really worked hard to ensure that where I start the ball is how I want to start the ball on the target line. And it feels very weird, but I know my stroke's good because I've been working on it for 18 months. And now I feel like I'm starting the ball online. And the only way I can feel it is if it feels weird and left, which that's bizarre. So what we're trying to do is really be objective with your golf game. And so I'm really enjoying chipping and putting. I've really worked hard on that in the last 16, 18 months. So I'm super pumped. I'm playing twice this coming week, which is unheard of for me, which is bizarre, but anyway. And I'm playing once with my brother and Rob Kahn, a dear mate I've known since we were, 9? So 3 Aussies are hitting Ferry Point on Wednesday, and it's bucketing down all week apart from Wednesday. Oh, bit of a heavenly moment. And then I'm playing again on Friday with Dr. Maddie Maisel and one of our dear members in here. And we're going up to West Point, where this particular member's daughter's actually currently enrolled, the Army West Point. And I can't wait to play it because I've been wanting to play that for 10 or 15 years. Apparently it's exquisite. It's Robert Trent Jones. And being a military family, we love that. So let's pivot a little bit. So I got to work on this week, a couple of things. My right knee's still bungholio because I got to get a new one, and I'm not going to get a new one. So I've just got to work on just getting into that right glute with the longer stuff. Wedges is fine because I can trap it a little bit, but if I just don't load that right glute with my driver in 3-wood, I get a little steep and she balloons out to the right, which I had a couple of shots in the US Open like that. So this week, I'm going to hit some balls. Actually, probably today. I've got about a 15-hour day in here today, so I'm going to hit some balls today a little bit. And I built my brother a brand new set of clubs. So he's played for 23 years. We measured his clubs, and they're 1.25 inches too short. So my dear brother's been playing with golf clubs that are 1 inch too short, so I've just finished them. He played with them on Friday, and he loved them, so I've got to finish the set. So that's kind of cool, and I've got some work to do. So we'll pivot, and let's get into improvement, pivot, point. And we thought this was cool. We wanted to talk about Ryan Foxy Fox, the Kiwi, 38 years of age. So he's a journeyman. He's just won his first tour event last week, and then the one before, which wasn't full sanction, but is what it is. What we're trying to do here is just explain people's golf swings. And so we wanted to talk Ryan Fox because it's a really interesting move. And we wanted to highlight it in an amazing way because the guy hits it. He's got like 125 clubhead speed, which is insane. But what I wanted to do was explain how I'm noticing the trends in the golf industry, and this is really important. The commentators, as we are all commentators, who really get negative, and indeed some of the commentators on the Golf Channel, they only look at one data point. And I think the beauty of swing is that we're one of the very, very few platforms that looks at the entire vertical integration of a golf swing. And so I wanted to talk about what I see in Ryan Fox. It's certainly I would never teach his move, and I wanted to explain why. From a lower back pain management point of view, he must be country strong Foxy. I've never met him. He seems a delightful guy. But he's very country strong, and I'm going to say that because his lower back gets a lot of side bend through impact, and his torso side bend, and one would argue that's not going to be great on his right-hand facet joints. So he hits it like an absolute cannon, but there's an upside and a downside to that. So we thought we'd get into it. Let's talk about Ryan Fox. PGA Tour winner twice in 4 or 5 weeks, Ryan Fox, Foxy Fox, New Zealander. Love to see a New Zealander start to play some good golf. Sir Bob Charles, and we had Michael Campbell. We had Danny Lee, who is a young phenom. Unfortunately, he went to live, and so we don't see much of Danny Lee anymore. I don't think he's playing enough golf. So it's great that Ryan had a win for his flying his Kiwi flag. And we'll be interested in this year's US Open. Obviously, he was leading in the PGA for some time. Let's talk about his technique. Why? Improvement pivot point is because the golf community jump on whoever's doing well on the PGA Tour being the market leader. I thought we'd discuss it how we see it. And I've got his stats here. So he's hitting up on driver about 4 degrees. He's coming outside in. I found it hard. I didn't go down the complete rabbit hole and trying to find his stats. I found it very difficult to find a side-on view of his iron play, but I could find a lot of his driver. And so what I wanted to do is just explain how he swings a golf club, why not to emulate it, because it's horrific for your lower back. But he gets it done, and he wins. And so Our job is just to say, hey, here's a factual account of Ryan's golf swing. So what do we know? We know that the lower spine rotates very minimally, and we're going to hurt if we rotate through the lower spine. So I live in what we call lumbar lordosis. My lower back is always in that tilt. So I've always got to go chest to ball, tuck tailbone, right? Okay, so what do we know? So I've actually just gone down the rabbit hole here. I've got his little stats. Ryan Fox is hitting up 3.5, 4 degrees with his driver, and he's creating about 125, 130 miles an hour of ball speed. But how does he achieve that? Well, it's a swing that I wouldn't suggest you follow for numerous reasons. There's a lot of moving parts. And what the golf industry don't talk about is how mentally strong this guy must be. He chipped in to win his first ever PGA Tour event, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And don't forget, he cups his left wrist at address, which means the face should be open. He then closes the face at address, which means the ball should go left. But so far he's gone cupped right. So when he cups his left wrist, the ball should go right. When he toes it in, the ball should go left. And then when he picks the club up, what Ryan does, I'm a guy who lives in what we call lumbar lordosis, so I've always got to find neutral, bucket of water neutral. Ryan drops his height about a foot as he's hitting. So as he swings the club back, because his left grip is so strong, he whips the club round and de-lofted. At the top of his golf swing, both of his wrists are vertical, which is always the club face is open, but he closes it. So if I grip the club how I grip it and I get both my wrists in a vertical position, my club face you'll see is pointing over my head. He's got some very funky moves. So strong left, he grips it like a hammer. He then de-lofts the club and whips it inside. Now, because he's using a lot of lower back, you'll see that my little microphone here doesn't move. And then Ryan picks the club up to be totally shut. His wrists are vertical. His club is above shoulders, and then he throws over the top. But as he throws over the top, he should be hitting down and steep on the golf ball, but he then drops his height about a foot. He leans way back, and he's hitting up on driver 4 degrees, and he's also tilting back through impact. So his lower spine is getting crunched as his head drops and tilts, and he comes from underneath and flips it. And so the problem we've got, there's a ton of moving parts. What we like in the golf swing is that the spine stays very neutral, whether it's from side view or whether it's from down the line view. The thoracic spine rotates, my head doesn't move. My pelvis and torso move together. My pelvis posteriorly tilts. You'll notice that my head hardly moves. So what we want to do is talk about motion in a manner in which is positive. The guy's a legend, but what people don't talk about is how strong he mentally is. What people don't talk about is if his grip is super strong and he's hooding everything on the way back, for him to chip in with pretty questionable technique suggests that he's mentally an absolute beast of a guy. But also at 38 to win your first PGA Tour event suggests that his technique means he's very inconsistent. Anyone who is moving backwards, remember he is exactly the same as Kyle Berkshire, the long drive champ. At impact, his torso, because his left leg is hyperextending in extension, that forces his weight back. As his left leg straightens, his side bend of his torso is extreme. His lower back is getting absolutely punished. And then he's hitting up from here. Now, the problem with this position, strong left grip, hooded club face. His club face should send the ball way left, but his torso's spinning open and he's cutting across the ball. So he hits mainly cuts. So anytime the breeze is howling left to right, he's going to struggle, unfortunately. So British Open's going to be tough. Anytime he's got to really shape one right to left, it's going to be very hard to control because like Kyle, as he hyperextends, He's really using that club, which is miles to the right, and then he whips it closed. And so there's just a lot of face change, which is why he's inconsistent, but it's perfectly imperfect, right? We're not ever going to say anything's wrong in here. We use Justin Thomas a lot. Justin Thomas goes from a weaker grip, Ryan Fox is strong, a weaker grip, Justin Thomas fans it open, Ryan Fox is crazy strong, hoods it, straightens, tilts, hangs back and flips it. And you just won 2 events in 4 weeks. So all we try to do is comment. When you're watching someone like Ryan Foxy Fox, take it for what it is. Give the guy some credit that he must be mentally so strong. If you're chipping in for your first win on US soil in front of 40,000 people, it's more about your mental than your technique. And what we want to do is be very different. There's not a platform, I don't think, out there that actually talks about things like, hey, he's country strong from New Zealand. He's mentally just a beast. He's nearly 40 years of age and just had his first win. So that suggests that his technique is going to be producing a very inconsistent tournament result. But he still won, and it's awesome, and we salute that. But try not to copy this D-loft, left leg straightens, therefore his left hip is higher at impact than his right, therefore his right collapses, his shoulder's high, his angle of shoulder through impact is about 70 degrees. And you can tell that my right side is my facet joints are going to get compressed. You know, it's just not great for the human body unless you've got a big old butt to take pressure away from your lower back, which he does. So what we try to do, let's bring it full circle. We would imagine that his driving stats are obviously very good, but his iron play is not going to be consistent. My sternum's where the club hits the ground. Left leg straightens, right leg collapse. Now my sternum's going to be way behind the ball and I'm going to hit under it with big flat hooks. So remember, there's no right way. Hopefully what we do better is just be very factual on the physics and math, which is how we approach the game. We don't label things right and wrong. We just say, here's the cause and effect. Upside Ryan Fox, rips driver 330 without even blinking. Downside of Ryan Fox, he will hit behind the ball a little bit and hit flat hooks. If the breeze is howling left to right, he's going to struggle to control a draw because his face is changing a lot. When it's left to right breeze, Justin Thomas is going to struggle to shape that ball right to left because his face is opening. It's not wrong. All we try to do is label things correctly so you can absolutely own your golf swing. Beauty Golfers newsletter drops on Friday. Thanks so much for being part of our journey. We're always going to keep it high on tight and facts and figures and try not to label things right and wrong. Just label them as physics, math, and how you can own your swing. We'll see you next week and have a great game of golf. US Open, enjoy it.